And now, cutting through your typical media nonsense and offering you a rational and unbiased perspective on current events and life in Tampa Bay. He's a successful entrepreneur, published author, top listing agent, a real estate and finance expert that goes to bat for you every day as a consumer advocate. Your host and the consumer quarterback, Brandon Rimes.
All right, welcome to the show. Thanks so much for spending some time with us here on the Consumer Quarterback Show, powered by the Platinum MVP team at Keller Williams Realty, helping you win in your real estate deals, buying, selling, investing. Of course, we would love to talk to you. Also have my mortgage loan origination license, so any refinances, purchases, we can help you there. We also have other partners that you can talk to as well. We got Jared Parker back in studio with us, Regional Economic Consulting Group. We're going to talk tariffs, and also there's a rumor in the state about property taxes maybe being significantly reduced or eliminated. You know, we're going to break that down. Where would the money come from? How would that happen? Is it feasible? We're going to kind of debate that a little bit here. Andrew Kube, also U.S. Commercial and Business Capital, joining us. I love talking with Andrew because he has 100% financing for business owners out there, SBA loans and a combination of other products and services that he offers. Rodrigo Torres bringing in our mold sniffing dog, Aspen, as well. So we're going to talk with him about what he's seeing out there with mold solutions in the economy. Before we do, I want to let you know about our next event. We got an event coming up, and you are invited. Our audience is invited to this event, Dave, and Crown and Bull, a new location for us, man.
Crown and Bull, it's a great place. There's going to be live music at this one as well. It's going to be this, the third Thursday, May 20th.
Actually, it's the fourth this month.
This month.
23rd, Thursday, May 23rd, 6 o'clock. 22nd,
6 p.m. It's over on 319 Main Street down in Dunedin. So, of course, we're going to have the appetizers. That's going to be taken care of by the MVP team. And, of course, it's going to be a great time, great ambiance over there as well. You're going to be able to meet and network with all the other expert contributors and be able to pull up anything you like at this point.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. Live music, Crown and Bull, great location. If you haven't heard about Crown and Bull, a lot of people know it on Main Street there in Dunedin. It's not the third Thursday. I keep saying that, though. Thursday, May 22nd, 6 o'clock. And you're invited. Our audience is invited to that. All right, a couple of hot listings here. We'd like to feature our listings on air. It's part of our strategy that helps our sellers sell faster for more money, maximizing the exposure and the profit on the sale of our real estate listings. We take great pride in getting you maximum exposure. 4798 Indigo Road in Groveland, Florida. We've got 42 acres for sale here. This is a great investment opportunity. Perfectly positioned in the heart of Groveland. So you're in between Tampa and Orlando there. Great opportunity. 28 acres plus 14. That's 42 acres total that you can build and develop. We also have a 2-2 home there as well for a private residence or a weekend retreat. 4798 Indigo Road in Groveland. We got a motivated seller there as well. 221 Howard Drive, Bel Air Beach, Florida. Beautiful $1 million listing, just under $3 million. We just reduced this one down to 2.95. This is a co-listing with Aaron Foley on our team. 5 bedrooms, 3 bath, 3,500 square foot single family home. Gorgeous 3-island kitchen, Thermador appliances, saltwater pool, 100 linear feet of water frontage, deep water canal, access to the Gulf of America, 1 block to beach access where you can hang out with the beautiful dolphin-filled waters there and the sugar sand beaches. 221 Howard Drive, Bel Air Beach, Florida. You can see all of our listings at platinummvpteam.kw.com. All right, Jared Parker, welcome back in, sir.
Oh, thanks for having me.
He's our local economist of choice. Yeah, Regional Economic Consulting Group. Tell us a little bit more what you've been up to, man.
Oh, a couple. I mean, quite a few things. You know, we're in the waning days of session. And normally, my firm, we represent a couple different clients up in Tallahassee. And we help provide ammunition in terms of numbers and statistics and facts that get circulated by the lobbyists to help, promote certain policies that we like or don't like, or demote policies we don't like.
Like rent restriction. What do they call it?
Rent control.
Rent controls.
Rent control.
That's a terrible plan, right?
It was a horrible plan.
Yeah.
We did a lot of work on that one years ago. Not actually, about 2 years ago, 3 years ago, with the Live Local Act, which I'm sure you're familiar with. impacting real estate.
Yeah.
So at the time, we did the rent control policy when the Florida realtors approached us asking us what would be the impact to different areas in the state. So Orlando, Tampa, we looked down in the Naples area, up in Jacksonville, and Miami.
Yeah. Those are your big metros in Florida.
Yeah, it was the four largest metros, and then we wanted to get a couple smaller metros to kind of show, this problem doesn't just affect the large areas; it affects smaller, more rural communities. And even though Naples doesn't quite feel rural, for Florida, it's a rural district.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I mean, because you got the areas between, like Immokalee, Collier County, Fort Myers, Lee County. That's where I'm from, down in LaBelle, but. Yeah, it's definitely not as metropolis feeling as, of course, a Miami, Orlando, or Tampa.
Yeah, and a problem like rent control, people sit there and think it's especially if you're not in the major areas, you think it's a major area problem. And that's just not the case. And that's what we showed. And it was successful in the legislature.
Because that de-incentivizes the builders to build, right?
Yeah. The concept was vacancy rates, which got tight, led to higher rents. And then higher rents led to higher profitability, which then would signal a builder to come in and build more units, which is what happened. So when you stick in the rent control, you basically break that relationship between higher rents and higher return. Because there is no return. You're capping it all. And you encourage vacancy to get tighter, which puts a lot of pressure on owners of properties to do other things like neglect maintenance, for example.
Right.
Just not build, dump their properties. And you exacerbate the shortage that's already there.
Let's jump to the big conversation happening in the state of Florida right now, these property taxes, because we've reported on, and even DeSantis has talked about, and Bernie Jacques, the state local rep here out of Largo, talked with him about they're trying to figure out a way to significantly reduce or eliminate property taxes. What's your thoughts? What are you hearing? Because I know you're that Tallahassee insider. We
actually looked at this issue about 6 or 7 months ago, and we were looking to see if is the higher property taxes as a result of things like just counties and cities running up millage rates? Is it a result of something like the school districts, playing with numbers? And what we ultimately found is it's an issue of property value. It's just there's a lot of people moving here. There is, I think, the single-family vacancy rate now is still under 2%. So it's a tight inventory market. Yep. And when you have a lot of people moving in, property values go up on a tight inventory.
Yep.
You get higher property taxes, especially when you turn those properties over to new owners. They're the ones that get hit with the brunt of that bill.
Yes, exactly. Because the existing owner, just so everybody knows, that portability comes into play. Right, so you're able to port that homestead over, even if you move from Hillsborough to Pinellas or whatever, you're able to port that tax basis, a portion of that tax basis over, and ultimately it keeps the taxes somewhat close to what you were paying before. Yeah,
it keeps somewhat closer, and then you're really paying the full rate on the new value, the increased value of the new property compared to what you had prior. So anyhow, we looked at the issue and we found it was a property. It was really a property value problem. And the issue right now is transactional volume, is that we're seeing slower volume in housing sales. And because of that, you don't get a lot of price movement and there's just no alleviation. So, there's other avenues. There's property taxes one, and other avenues insurance is trying to figure out these property insurance markets. But the hot topic really is the property tax front. And I know the governor came out first. He proposed eliminating the entire property tax, which sounds great in theory, but you would have to replace that money for the locals, is the way the Constitution and the statute works, which is $55 billion. I don't want to pay an income tax personally, and other thing you could do is double the sales tax.
Yeah, sales tax. And do it when you spend the money, because then the drug dealers and all the illicit
consumption
something like that. Because whenever they're buying something, that's an equal playing field. Everybody's buying stuff.
True. The only counter to that is it's a lot more cyclical. So when you go into a recession, your sales tax,
seasonal. Got it. Yeah, cyclical. Got it. Cycles. Yeah.
People definitely pull back on that spending.
Got it.
And so that could magnify the impact of like a recession.
Yeah.
And they got to figure out where to get that revenue from.
What about recycling? I hear it's just a waste. Like the stuff that we sort and drag to the corner, it just really doesn't make it to the recycling to be a recycled product, in other words.
Oh, well, yeah. Recycling, it's just, everything's recycled. Yeah. Whether it's dirty steel or plastics, trash. There's a lot of you can sell your garbage and you can make it's what's the term for it? But it's a byproduct.
Upsell.
It's a byproduct. Ultimately, trash is a byproduct of people's activity. You can take that and you can get rid of it. I mean, there's value in garbage.
But couldn't we say? My question though is, as citizens, as taxpayers, couldn't we save money by not offering that program through the counties or whoever with these big trucks? Yeah. Right, because that's the argument from what I hear, and obviously I hadn't studied this.
Right,
but
I'm sure there's something there. Yeah, I mean it's ultimately when you're looking at a $55 billion hole, it's across the board. That funds all local governments. Period. So that's what makes eliminating property tax difficult. So, but there's been other ideas. One of the Speaker of the House, he pushed for a tax. His tax package right now is to reduce sales tax from 6% to 5.25%.
I saw that
across the board.
Yeah,
that's about a $5 billion impact that they'd want to replace that revenue somehow, or at least some portion of that revenue. And then the latest one is, every time you go stay at a hotel, you pay what's called a bed tax, a tourist development tax. They want to take 75% of every dollar they collect in tourist development taxes and send it over to property tax. And so if let's say you move $1 million from your tourist tax to your property tax, they want them to then cut their property tax rate to cover that $1 million. So it's like a mandatory offset. It's all three ideas have their definitely strengths and weaknesses. It's tough.
Yeah.
Property tax is a very difficult issue to go after because a lot of it's enshrined in the Constitution. And a lot of it's based on who has the authority and taxing authority. Like, does a local government have the right to raise taxes? Does the state have the right to come in there and tell a local authority how and when they can raise taxes?
Right.
Which in some taxes they can. We see them do it in today, property tax. They'll provide exemptions for different, like if you put solar panels on your home. The property appraiser has to take that in consideration, that they can't tie a value to that when it comes to figuring out how much your home is worth.
Well, here's an idea. So there's a clip I would play, but it takes too long to get to the point. But the punchline was there's a caller that called into Kirk's show, and she had a similar question about, hey, my taxes. When I first bought my home, it was worth $280. Now it's worth $430. So we're getting taxed on that increase in equity, right? That appreciation. Right. And again, Lawrence Yun, he came out with a post here. That's the chief economist at NAR. Housing asset valuations to 2/3 of American households grew by $3.1 trillion in the past year and $18 trillion over the past 5 years. So that's 2/3 of all American households. So we know that they're going to appreciate. So your property taxes go up in kind. Again, there's homestead exemptions, things like that. But the point was, you shouldn't have an increase unless you do some type of a renovation or an addition.
Yeah. It's the same argument you make for being taxed on unrealized gains. And there was a representative that came out early this session that wanted to freeze the value, your taxable value at the point of sale, and that would work. I mean, that would definitely help. But it's a big problem with property taxes is how they're collected. It's not something where it's just a tax rate applied to a value and the revenue comes in and they do what they will with it. What local governments do, cities and counties, they figure out what their budget is first, like what's their needs. And then they look at the tax base and they say, if I need $150 million, what tax rate do I have to charge my tax base to bring in those dollars? So when you do something like you provide an exemption, you don't change the fact that the local budget's the local budget. So if you put in a bunch of exemptions, your tax base might get smaller, but then they'll offset it with a higher tax rate.
Yeah.
So it's part of the problems that we're having is the mechanics of how the tax works.
Got it.
And that's something that's difficult to address, and that's something that would take years to address and makes these property tax issues up in Tallahassee difficult.
Yeah, it's interesting. And then you couple that with the affordability, the insurance issues, the older condos that have the 30-year plus 3-year,
right.
So those milestone reports. There's a lot happening in Florida housing, and it's a challenging time for a lot of people. Let's take a quick break. When we come back, more with Jared Parker. I want to talk a little about, kind of take it out macro a little bit more and go into the tariff talk, because that's a big issue right now. A lot of people talking and debating tariffs and how they think that might play out. And then also any other ideas you have here locally in Florida that we could talk about as well. Follow us online at BrandonBrimes1 at CQB Show, and we'll be right back here on the program.
Hey, this is Grant Cardone, and you're listening to Consumer Quarterback Show, hosted by my friend Brandon Rhymes. Do not touch that dial. I'll come right through the radio and grab your throat.
To get in touch with Brandon, call 813-917-1894. Online at consumerqb.com.
Hey, Brandon Rhymes here. Did you know that we buy houses cash? We will close quickly and give you a fair offer on your home or residential properties, even commercial properties, and we will give you a fair cash offer, close quickly, and be diligent when you're shopping these types of scenarios, because a lot of the wholesalers, the flippers out there, they will sign you up on an as-is contract, and they will shop that contract and try to find a buyer, but they may not find the buyer, and they won't close. So this is Brandon Rhymes, 813-917-1894, consumerqb.com. Brandon Rhymes, we buy houses cash and fast. Attention business owners, did you know we have 100% financing options available? Our no money down program offers 100% financing for business owners. If you are currently leasing your commercial space, you can purchase real estate for no money down. Additionally, the program offers money for working capital, equipment, and business fixtures. You can even pay off current business debt. Reach out at 813-917-1894. That is my direct cell. You can call or text 813-917-1894. BRimes at kw.com. And that is our 100% financing, no money down program for business owners. We would love to help you buying, selling, or investing in real estate. 813-917-1894. BRimes at kw.com.
You're listening to the consumer quarterback, Brandon Rhymes, cutting through your typical media nonsense and offering you a rational and unbiased perspective on current events and life in Tampa Bay. Online at consumerqb.com.
All right, welcome back. Brandon Rhymes here, Consumer Quarterback Show. Quick shout out to Brio Tuscan Grill, International Plaza Mall. Longtime friend of the program. Delicious food, absolutely delicious. The salmon fresca, they got great fillets, burgers at the happy hour. They got an awesome happy hour over there, by the way. Very affordable if anybody wants to check that out. Chef Oscar Ramirez. Say hello to Chef Oscar Ramirez. Brio Tuscan Grill, International Plaza Mall. Excellent food, wonderful ambiance, very friendly wait staff, really cool people over there. Brio Tuscan Grill. Make sure you let them know you heard about him here on the Consumer Quarterback Show. Say hello to Chef Oscar Ramirez. Jared Parker back in studio with us, Regional Economic Consulting Group, coming up here in just a moment. Before we do, a couple of hot listings here. We like to feature our listings on air for our sellers, and that's our highest duty as a selling agent, listing agent, to help you maximize the profit. 16625 Goose Ribbon Place, Waimama. A brand new listing for us, beautiful property. This is in a gated community. 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 2-car garage. It's a smart home with a lot of updates, and as you would think with a electronically smart home. 1844 square feet, and you have that beautiful lagoon. If you have children, I'm sure they would love that lagoon. You got volleyball courts, nature trails, dog parks, and a vibrant clubhouse. But that's a really cool community with that lagoon there as well. 1210 Paradise Lake Drive. This one's in Tarpon Springs, just about a mile from the world-famous Tarpon Turtle there on Lake Tarpon. 1210 Paradise Lake Drive, Tarpon Springs. 4-bedroom, 3-bath, 2-car garage, 2274 square feet. Lots of updates here on this home. Hurricane-proof front door with lifetime warranty. You have new appliances, lighter color kitchen cabinetry, stainless steel appliances, fireplace, beautiful pool and spa package that is screened in the backyard. Beautiful curb appeal in the front. I love those palm trees there. 3-car garage. Great opportunity. 1210 Paradise Lake Drive, Tarpon Springs. And you can see all of our real estate listings. If you're buying, selling, investing, reach out. We'd love to talk to you. Buying, selling, investing, refinancing. We would love to talk to you. You can see all of our listings. Platinum MVP Team.kw.com. All right, Jared Parker, we got a lot of products that are made in America. Not enough. We want to make more in America. But for the products that are coming in the country, those are imported into the country. Talk to us a little bit about tariffs and how they work.
Well, a tariff is, it's a fee, or you can call it tax, call it whatever. It's levied at the import, at the point of import. So if you are Walmart, for example, and you're importing a bunch of clothes from Vietnam, Walmart, in theory, would be on the hook to pay once it crosses the border into the U.S., like if they are the importing entity. Now, it gets kind of spicy or confusing and complicated, however you want to call it, on how that impacts retail prices, because that's a completely different thing than an importer. You almost think of like an importer in a supply chain. They're the manufacturer. And then that item that's produced or imported has to then be distributed, and then it comes out for retail sale. So if you're Walmart, you have a lot of leverage because you control so much, you buy so much.
Right.
And if you're somebody over in Vietnam, there's only one Walmart. So if Walmart says, I want you to eat some of the cost of this tariff, then Vietnam would have no choice in that matter unless they can find another Walmart. Which
they're going to bring their margins down a little bit.
Yeah. So they'll have to absorb it there in their margins. The other side is on the retail side. There's a lot of competition on the retail side. The further you get to retail, normally the more entities you have competing.
Right.
All right. There's only ever a handful of distributors. There's only ever a handful of manufacturers. There's plenty of retailers. So a lot of those additional costs that might come from a tariff are competed out of the market, and they have to eat them on the margins to be able to still move their inventory to the consumer.
Right.
So I know there's a study out there, and I think it's the one the White House used, that if a tariff is passed, it's about a 1-to-1 increase in the price, the import price. So if I if I do a 10% tariff, I get a 10% increase in the cost of import. But what they also saw is only 25% of that 10% increase passes on to the retailer, which means if tariff goes up 10%, the import goes up 10%, the consumer price goes up about 2.5%.
Right. It makes sense because you can't just all of a sudden completely adjust dollar per dollar because you still have, you mentioned Walmart. Now you got Target, you got online retailers, you got, so if you were to play that game, you're going to just price yourself out of the market.
Right. And that's exactly what happens.
Yeah.
It does get dicey when you're talking about like some of the stuff they've been talking in the northern U.S., car manufacturing. Let's say you're going back and forth between Canada. A lot of those goods actually cross the border multiple times in the production process. So every time it does, it's another tariff. It's another fee on the value of that good.
Yeah.
So if I have a $10,000 product, ship it over to Canada.
Yep.
Let's pretend Canada doesn't charge anything. $10,000 product goes to Canada. Canada sends it back at $15,000. Okay, I got to pay 10% on that.
Yep.
I then ship it back to Canada at $20,000.
Yep.
They then ship it back to me at $25,000. I got to pay 10% on that $25,000.
Yeah.
So suddenly those fees can start racking up, and that's kind of some of the concern. But I know I saw today the White House issued an executive order to ease some of those tariffs on goods like that do that multi-border crossing issue. But by and large, tariffs it's something we haven't done in a long time. I know back in the 50s, we pulled them all coming out of World War II when we were the only manufacturing game in town, and we wanted to open up the international markets to being able to let them produce and use our market as their consumer, as their source of sale. But now that
from there, it seems like our politicians just got accustomed to that idea.
Yeah.
Maybe some backdoor campaign contributions in kind, But it just seems like America's got sold out over the years.
Yeah,
and it's time that I'm glad that Trump stood up and said, "Hey, we got to equal this out. We got to balance this." And now you got all these people coming back to make deals.
Yeah, and the reason we opened up our consumer markets is because the rest of the world was obliterated in World War II. Is the post-war era.
Right, it was terrible.
We were the only consumer in town, and we wanted to help them redevelop.
Right.
And they redeveloped, and here we are 80 years later. Yeah, it's worth relooking at the policies to sit there and say, does a situation that worked 80 years ago still work today?
Yeah.
And that's not always the case.
Exactly.
And there's nothing wrong with having a debate about whether tariffs are good or bad, or is there some kind of benefit we could get out of it? I mean, a perfect example of using tariffs would be the shipping industry.
Yeah.
China last year produced more ships than we produced in the last 80.
Oh, yeah. I mean, especially if we were going to war with these guys. I mean, we've got to be able to make Jeeps, tanks, planes, boats, etc., weapons.
Strategic.
Jared Parker, how do you want people to connect with you, my friend?
Just go to our website, regionaleconomicconsulting.com.
regionaleconomicconsulting.com. Jared Parker, thanks for coming in, man.
Thanks for
always a
having
fun
me.
Conversation.
Absolutely.
Coming up, Andrew Kube, U.S. Commercial and Business Capital, 100% financing for business owners. Great content coming up. Andrew Kube, right back.
This is Warwick Dunn, and you're listening to the Real Estate Quarterback Show hosted by my man, Brandon Rhymes.
To get in touch with Brandon, call 813-917-1894. Online at consumerqb.com. You're listening to The Consumer Quarterback, Brandon Rhymes. Online at consumerqb.com. Brandon is Tampa Bay's #1 consumer advocate for real estate and financial advice. Call Brandon today at 813-917-1894.
All right, welcome back. Brandon Rhymes here, Consumer Quarterback Show, powered by the Platinum MVP team, always helping you win in your real estate deals. If you're buying, selling, investing, refinancing, we would love to talk to you. We're going to talk about business owners in this segment. We've got Andrew Kube joining us, U.S. Commercial and Business Capital, uscbcapital.com. We're going to talk with Andrew about some of the programs he has. 100% financing for business owners. If you're out there leasing, you got to get out of that lease, get into ownership, start building up equity, start taking advantage of the tax code, start understanding how you build a legacy for your family, leave something behind other than just the business itself. We're going to talk with him here in just a moment. Before we do, a couple of hot listings. We like to feature our listings on air. It helps our sellers sell faster for more money with less headaches, maximizing the exposure and the profit on the sale of our real estate listings. We've got a new listing at 5274 Miller Bayou Drive. This one's in Port Richey on Miller Bayou Drive. What we've got is a quarter-acre lot, waterfront, on two sides. You got two sides waterfront here. Great opportunity to build. You're less than 10 minutes from downtown Newport Richey. So if you're a boater, you could fit a boat back in there, jet skis. Martha's Vineyard Subdivision, Port Richey, 5274 Miller Bayou Drive. We got about a dozen or so, maybe up to 20 vacant land listings, 50 current listings. We got commercial properties as well. I want to show Andrew this one as well, 9594 Southeast Mercamp Road. This is one in Ocala that we've been talking about, Andrew. 5,725 square feet, acre of land. This is a thriving hardware store with lucrative income streams. You have two rentable sections in the back. He's also renting out the land where he has semi-trucks, big rigs, parking their rigs there. It's a great business, offers multiple income generating opportunities. Seller financing is available with a strong down payment. 9594 Mercamp Road, Ocala, Florida. A great example of one of our commercial listings. You can see all of our listings at platinummvpteam.kw.com.
This is God's country.
All right, Andrew Kube back in studio with us. It's been a minute, sir.
Yeah, Brandon, thanks for having me back in.
My pleasure. Yeah, man, good stuff. Let's jump right into it. 100% financing for business owners. And I love the idea of just, letting business owners understand, how to build wealth, how you can take advantage. I think a lot of times people just don't really understand these programs are available.
Absolutely. So the government through the SBA has set aside $5 million for every business. So whether you're starting a business, buying a business, growing your existing business, or looking to franchise a business, there's $5 million out there for you. So if you have a vision for growth for your current business and you're currently leasing your real estate, there's a specialty program out there that I would say not many people know about. And so the way the program works, Brandon, it's for business owners who are leasing. They've been in business for 2 years. They show a profit on their tax returns, and they have about a mid-600 credit score on up. And what we do is we look at that business's profit. And then I'll give you an example. Let's say you had a business that made $1 million last year. They wrote off $900,000 in deductions. They're showing $100,000 in profit. Now, what we do at $100,000, we look to see if that business had any one-time business expenses last year, or they had depreciation, and we add it back into the $100,000. But in this example, we're just saying, hey, this business showed $100,000 in profit. The program's called the Rent Replacement Program. So what we do, since the rent is getting ready to go away because they're looking to buy a property for their business, we can add back in their yearly rents back into that $100,000. So we take the $100,000 net profit, we add back yearly rents. In this example, the client was paying $5,000 a month or $60,000 a year. Now we're using $160,000 to qualify.
Got it.
We take that $160,000, and the magic number is 8.5 times. We take $160,000, we multiply by 8.5 times. That comes to $1.36 million. So in that scenario, that business owner qualifies for a $1.36 million loan.
Wow.
For no money down.
Wow.
If they find a property to buy for $1 million, now they have $360,000 left over to grow their business. And what I mean by that, they can, let's say they're looking to grow and hire new employees. Well, the employees might not have started making the money yet, but they still have to pay them. So what the lender will do is give you 3 to 6 months worth of pay for any new employees that you hire.
Love it.
So working capital to run the business, marketing as well. Equipment, any type of equipment you need out there for your business. Vehicles, fixtures for your office, computers, tables, any type of high interest rate business debt that you currently have. You can include that into the purchase of your loan. And then also any rehab to the property.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how the 100% program works, the Cliff Note version. But, if you look at the Tampa Bay area right now, a lot of the inventory that's out there on the commercial side is in your owner-user, owner-occupied space. It's your small office, your retail, your industrial, your restaurants, your sports. So when I'm talking to business owners, it's usually they understand one thing, and that's money, right? Mm-hmm. And, I had a business owner last month that had been paying out $10,000 a month for the past 5 years to someone else's mortgages, to his landlord. Wow. So he's paid out, $600,000 roughly, over the last 5 years. So my question was, do you want to put that money back in your pocket? And the answer, of course, is yes.
Yeah.
And, also my client that was leasing, he wasn't getting the full tax write-off because he didn't own the property. So that was another advantage to owning the property, is being able to write off all that interest that you have every year on your mortgage payment.
Yeah.
And then he was 55 years old, and I asked him, I said, what are you going to do in 10 years?
Right.
And she said, Andrew, I'm not really sure. I'd like to sell the business maybe or leave it to my kids. I said, well, it's very important that you own that real estate, because 80% of all businesses shut down when the client retires, when the owner retires. 20%, they basically sell or leave it to their children as a legacy. But most business owners that I do meet fall into that 80% category, where they don't have a vision, they don't have a plan, and that's what we do. Is we help them get the money to grow, buy the real estate, and get everything they need to be able to scale their business. And one of those things is to basically take people that are leasing that real estate and help them become owners of their commercial space.
I love that. What a great example. Call now if you want more information, just a review of your plan, and talk to Andrew Kube, 813-917-1894. Call or text the hotline. Take action and think about that. Maybe it's a loved one that a friend or family member, and they would appreciate you telling them what you just heard here. 100% financing for business owners, plus consolidate any debt that comes outside of that. I mean, that multiple is really awesome. I want to ask you to walk me through that one more time. 813-917-1894. consumerqb.com. You could submit an email form right there at consumerqb.com. And if you want to go to Andrew Kube's website directly, it's uscbcapital.com, U.S. Commercial and Business Capital. Andrew Kube here on the Quarterback Show. So basically, it was $1 million, and then that extra multiple got him up to $1.3 million, so he could buy extra tow trucks if he's a tow truck company. If he had some high interest rate debt, we know people have a lot of credit card debt right now. 1.3 trillion, I think, was the last number, and that stuff's in the 20s, 18 to 22, 26%, whatever the usury is. It's right below that probably, right? So they can take these better rates, better loans, pay off that debt, or even buy or invest in more, what do we call human capital? Hire some people, grow the economy. I love that example, Andrew.
Yeah, that's what the loan is designed to do. It's designed for businesses that are looking to grow. It obviously creates more jobs and improves the economy. So even if you're a business owner out there, and let's say you already own your location, if you're looking to buy a second location for your business, please call me. We help clients do that. If you're looking to start a business, don't think that you should lease the first couple years of a business. It's much smarter to own that real estate when you start a business, because everything is going to be based off your projections in qualifying versus versus what the tax man showed that you made the first year or two in your business. So It's always important. And then if you have a location now in the Tampa Bay area and you're looking to expand, whether in Tampa Bay or outside of the area, you're going to be anywhere between 0 and 10% down for your second location. But let me give you an example. Let's say you found a property. We'll use $1 million again, but you needed $200,000 for your business and working capital. Well, in that situation, we're doing a loan at $1.2 million. Mm-hmm. That in situations, the worst case situation is the client's putting down 10%, which is $120,000 for a business expansion for a second location, third location, but so they're putting down 120, but they're walking home with 200. You see how that works? So your $1 million property, 200 in cash, $1.2 million loan, 10% down, 120,000 in one hand, and then you get a check back for 200 in the other.
Wow.
So for every situation out there, if you're looking to grow your business and you're looking to buy real estate for your property, or if you're just leasing and you still need money for your business, U.S. Commercial and Business Capital can help you find the money for your project, and most importantly, find the cheapest money for your projects.
Yeah, I love that. And you've got relationships. Talk about, because I think that's the next question to answer for our audience is, how do you do this? Because you've got banking relationships. You've been in this business for, 20, 30 years, and you've got a lot of banking relationships with VPs, vice presidents at a lot of different banks throughout the state. So it's not just one lender. You're shopping multiple lenders for these folks.
Yeah, I'll give you an example. Let's say you're a business owner out there, and let's say you don't want to use SBA. Let's say you're in the medical field. There's a lot of banking programs out there for you, or really for any business out there, and you've used up your $5 million for SBA. So I have relationships with about 30 banks in Florida where I'm direct to the vice president of their commercial loan department. So can you imagine, as a client, going and calling 30 different banks and setting up appointments? What I can do is send out one blind copied email for different projects that I have and be able to hit everybody at one time.
Yeah.
And that ensures that client's going to, number one, find a deal for their project. Number two, find the cheapest down payments, the lowest interest rates, the lowest cost, the best terms.
Yeah. By the way, we have a buyer right now. He's looking for $1 million. He's looking to spend around $1 million within 20 to 30 miles of West Chase is where they're based currently. And they want an industrial spot. So anybody, I can't remember if Lindsay reached out to you about that. I think maybe so. But that's a buyer need that we have right now on the table in the commercial space. So, all right, Andrew Kube, U.S. Commercial and Business Capital, uscbcapital.com, longtime friend of the Consumer Quarterback Show. Also on Facebook.com/USCB Capital on Facebook. Andrew Kube, final thought, and thanks for coming in, man.
Yeah, again, thanks for having me, Brandon. Just a final thought. If you're a business owner out there, you owe it to yourself and all the years that you've put into your business to be able to sell your business one day or leave a legacy for your children and generations to come. And by owning that real estate, you're setting yourself up to where you can sell the business one day and sell the real estate, or either sell your business, rent the real estate out, or leave a legacy for your kids, to where now they own an asset that's you're accumulating wealth.
Yeah.
Every time you make a payment to that asset, you're getting equity in that property, and it's just another great retirement tool for you and your loved ones.
Excellent. Well said. Awesome job. Thank you so much. Andrew Kube, U.S. Commercial Business Capital. Thanks for coming in, man.
Thanks.
All right. Coming up, Rodrigo Torres and also Aspen, the mold finding dog, sniffing dog, or however saying that, the detection dog coming up here. Mold Solutions coming up next on the Consumer Quarterback Show, consumerqb.com.
Hey, I'm Ken Shamrock, and you're here with Consumer Quarterback Show. And I say, Brandon Rhymes, knock out your competition.
To get in touch with Brandon, call 813-917-1894. Online at consumerqb.com.
Yeah, just let me set it up. Hold on. All right, Brandon, I'm ready when you are.
Okay. I'm just going to do a quick, no, nothing else. Just, not with you guys. I just got to look up this phone number real quick.